G'day guys, God's land down under. God bless you all as usual. Peace and unity to all the watchmen. That's what I pray for right now. Anyway, I'm not going to tell you anything revelationary tonight, but I am going to discuss a couple of things. Now, there are big channels that have fantastic research, and their research is supported biblically, but they have different views. It's difficult to reconcile two different views that both can be supported biblically. So we end up usually in a backward-forward argument. However, with this full buck moon approaching, and as I said, I've looked back at different names for this moon and what it meant to different cultures. So I do see some significance there. And I've seen personal confirmations for myself, for Sister DJ, for subscribers and other watchmen that could suggest something significant is going on. Now, most of the debate that we see between some of the bigger channels is about how we start the head of the year or the month, etc., whether it's a new moon, new month, as Dr. Barry would say, whether it's a full moon or a new moon, as in one you can't see, or the slither of a moon. There is so much controversy. So I'm not going to try and reconcile any of that controversy right now, but I will have a look at a few verses in the Bible and the associated Strong's Hebrew numbers for the search criteria that you can see at the top of the screen there. Just move that little doobie. Day appointed. Now, I've used that search criteria because in Proverbs 7:20, which is a significant rapture verse that many of us have looked at. Oh, look at that, it's just gone 9:11. Okay, anyway, that'd be 11:11 somewhere. That's a significant verse, so I've used day appointed as it occurs in the King James. But let's just have a look at the usage of the words day and appointed in 10 different verses, 21 matches that I found via that search criteria. So you can see we have a H3117 there for day, which seems to be how it is usually referred to. That's usually the Strong's number that we find for day, although there are a couple of others, or maybe one, we'll see as we go through, I can't remember, that is different. So we have another day there, which is a H3117, as before. And we have here an appointed, which is H5414, and a day, here was a different one, a H4480. Now, I'll show some slides for these towards the end of the video so that you can pause and just have a look and read yourself. But at the moment, all I'm doing is going through my little search and having a look at some differences. Here we have another appointed, H5975, and day 3117 in that verse. Now we come to Psalms, and we have a H3677, followed by day H3117. The very next verse, Proverbs, we have a day 3117, followed by appointed H3667, a reversal, but the same two Strong's numbers. Now, as we look through the rest of the search that I found, we have a day there, a different one, which is a 3119. And we have an appointed, which is a different one, 7760. There's a H5414 for appointed there. And it looks like a H3117 for day. We've got a G, 2476 for Greek in Axe. We've got a G, 5021 for appointed. And we've got a day, which is a G846. I'm only looking at the Hebrew at the moment. So we notice we have all these different uses of the word day and appointed. We'll have a look at some slides associated with those in a moment. But the two that interest me the most are these two verses that we so often use in our Watchman videos, and how they both have the 3117 and 3677, but reversed. Now let's just, I'll click on some of these so you can see what I'm talking about. Now if we go to 3677, okay, we have Strong's 3677. You can read it. If we go, and it clearly says fullness or the full moon, right? It clearly says full moon there. Okay, now as we expand upon it a little bit further, you can see what it says there, but notice it will bring you then to a 3780. If you hit 3780, it'll bring you back to 3760. 3780, 3760, go back, you can see what I mean, all from 3677. That's interesting. We've got 3677 that has three distinct, including itself, parts or roots, if you want to look for the root of the word, so to speak. That reminds me a lot of the Trinity, you know. Just saying. But anyway, if we go back to my search, we can see there are a lot of different meanings for appointed. So to say that it just simply means 3667 is not true. In this situation, it does. It's referring to fullness or the full moon. This is from Strong's. This isn't me making stuff up. It doesn't mean the same thing in a lot of other occasions. For example, it does here in Proverbs, as I said, and Psalms. But let's have a look at, and he appointed. Completely different, you see. So what I'm saying is, don't disregard that verse. That suggests this could be a full moon, because I think it has a great amount of validity. The more I look into it, the more that's what I think. I'm not trying to convince anybody one way or another. So let's just have a quick squeeze through some of the slides, shall we? Okay. You can pause on these and have a look yourself. After all, you need to do your research just like I am. I'm not suggesting that you don't, but the best way to learn is to research yourself. So here's our next one. And this is where we get that from. So what I've done here with a lot of these slides, I've I've put up the Strong's numbers and then show where we get them from. So clearly 3667. One of them was there from Proverb 720. So we've got a H4150, and you can see where I've found that appointed season, H4150. So you can pause and read. And I've done the same pretty much for all of these slides where we've looked at where I can see appointed or day. I've then gone and have a look at the Strongs, in this case Greek. Another Greek. And then you'll see I've put up the verses where those Strong's numbers, both Greek and Hebrew, come from. So there's not much commentary I can really give you here other than to suggest that you read them. I think that was a double screenshot, that one. Maybe not. They are interesting, and what it says to me, and I will finish the video after I have flipped through the rest of these slides. I'm not going to read them all out. Repo Man will be crabby with me because it's dead air time. So I'm trying to waffle a little bit. Sorry about that, guys. I had to remove some of the slides there as the last couple had some personal account details that didn't belong to me. Just Netflix, but I didn't want those shared. So I had to remove those, just in case you noticed some of the slides suddenly disappeared. So basically, I'll summarise the video now just by saying why I think this full moon, first watch, last hour, is so significant. Is by saying that because we have the first watch, the last hour of this full moon, I believe that it gives a lot of extra weight to all the other Great Watchman channels out there that are also looking at the same date for all their varying reasons. I loved how Reaper Man in his latest video said that there are a multitude of variables, and he named quite a few. There are thousands and thousands more than he ever named. And you know, I think one of the greatest variables and one of the greatest things that we have issue with is the fact that none of us really know Greek and Hebrew like we should. This language is so dimensional. I mean, English by comparison is, well, it's one-dimensional nearly. Hebrew's like gazillion dimensional. Its letters, its symbols mean things, its letters mean numbers, its numbers mean letters. Varying symbols paint varying pictures when grouped together. When skipped, skip codes and all sorts of things. Hebrew is like a language that no AI will ever be able to recreate. And I think a lot of the depth of our search, we'll put it this way, I think our search has been a lot shallower than it could have been if we were able to understand the Greek and the Hebrew better. But what I gather from my very, very grassroots 101 look at the words associated with appointed day as per the King James, or day appointed, is that we could well be looking at a full moon. So guys, stay encouraged. That is not long to wait to find out if we were right or wrong. We could be wrong. We have been so far. But this day has to happen. I didn't quite understand Mike's reference to the 80-year generation. He said something like he believes at the end of the 80 years, excuse me, that's when the Jews fly away, as in, I thought that was mid-tribulation where they fly away to safety sort of thing for a period of time. So if that was mid-tribulation, and you were starting at 1948, May 14th or whatever, and you added your 81 years, which takes you to 2029 November, and if you took off, if that was mid-tribulation that Mike was talking about, the end of the 80 years, so you took off your 3.5 years from the 2029 date, that lands you in November 2025, something like that. So I didn't understand what Mike said. Somebody may need to clarify that, for me at least. Or you don't have to, but it'd be nice if you could, because I didn't understand it totally. But Mike did allude to a multitude of variables, and there are indeed a lot of variables. And I think a lot of those variables lie in the Greek and Hebrew. I mean, Aaron is touching on this, and he is really quite good at it. I mean, I've got to say, that man, he can write that stuff even. So don't discard his research, even if it doesn't align with mine, or Mike's, or David the Watchman's, or somebody else's. Because when you get into the Greek and Hebrew, I truly believe you are starting to get deeper and deeper revelation. Also, Dr. Barry gets into the same, the Greek and Hebrew. And isn't it interesting how, because they do that, their presentations do sort of have that deeper level to them. So kudos to you guys. We might not all be looking at the same dates for the same reasons, the same timelines, but ultimately we're still looking for exactly the same person, our blessed hope, the Lord Jesus Christ, to return and take us out of this filthy mess. Filthy partly by ourselves and our own sin. So to redeem us from that, such that we will have immortal, sinless bodies and never to be battling with the flesh again. Won't that be awesome? And Jesus died and lived the most horrific, torturous life just so that we could have that incredible gift. And he offers it as a gift. Grace through faith. Confess with your mouth that Jesus is Lord. Believe with your heart that he rose on the third day, defeating death, sin, and the grave. And you are saved indeed. The Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit. 3 in 1. A triune God. Oh, what a great promise we have waiting for us. And all we need to do is what I just told you. Know that we are sinners, that our works amount to nothing, and Jesus is King and deserves all praise, all glory, all thanks, for he saved us, no one else.